In this lecture, we're going to fix the error we encountered in our last test. The error is telling us that we tried using a component called router link. The router link component is a component registered globally by the router library. Our test is running in isolation. It doesn't have access to global components. This issue can be resolved by registering the router link component. You may be tempted to register the entire router plugin, but that's not considered good practice. We don't care about the other features of the router plugin. We just want the router link component it defines. Also, we don't even need the router link to be functional. We're not testing if the router link works. Our code is testing for something entirely different. We can do what's called stubbing. Stubs are fake or dummy components. They're a way to trick Vue into rendering a completely different component or element. We have the option of creating a stub. However, the Vue Tests Utilities library comes with stubs already. We can use them to create a fake component. They're a great way to create a stand-in for a component that doesn't need to be completely functional. The Vue Tests Utilities library comes with a predefined set of stubs for mimicking the most common components. It has a stub for the router link component. Let's use it. At the top of the file, we'll update the import statement for the Vue Test Utilities package. We'll add on to the import list by adding the router link stub component. The router link stub object is a fake component that mimics the behavior of the router link component without relying on the router library. Let's register it as a component. In the shallow mount function, we're passing in an object. We'll add a property to this object called global. The global property will allow us to register global components, plugins, and mixins. We can register a component by adding the components object. In this object, we can register a component like we normally would. The component we're trying to create is called router link. We'll add this to the object. Its value will be the router link stub component. After making those changes, the test should pass without a problem. Let's go back to the UI and rerun the tests. The tests will run smoothly. We were able to fool our application by creating a fake component. This is what's known as stubbing. Stubbing is something that you'll do frequently. Keep in mind, we're trying to test bits and pieces of our application. We don't want the whole app to be functional. That's the purpose of a unit test. Stubbing components is very common in unit tests. While the test passes, we can further improve upon the test we created. Switch back to the editor. In our test, we're calling the text function on the wrapper object for the component. This function will return the entire text content of the component. It works, but we want to be more specific with our test. We want the name of the author to render in a specific location in the component. The wrapper API comes with a function for selecting an element in the component called find. You can think of the find function as similar to the query selector function. The find function will return another wrapper object. We'll be able to call the text function on it to retrieve the inner text of the element. Let's modify our code to use the find function. Above the test, create a variable called compositionAuthor. The value for this will be the function wrapper.find. The find function has one argument, which is the CSS query to find the element. We'll pass in .textGray500. This function will return another wrapper object. The test can be updated to use the compositionAuthor object instead of the wrapper object. The compositionAuthor element we're testing should only have the name of the author inside it. We'll update the test to make an exact match instead of a partial one. We'll replace the toContain function with the toBe function. This will make an exact match comparison. Let's run the test. The test will pass without a problem. Great. We've successfully tested an element's inner content. It's correctly outputting the data we passed in. We'll keep writing tests in the upcoming lectures.